Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction and brings us guests who provide useful information on industry-related topics and trends. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO. We hope you are enjoying your Thanksgiving holiday weekend, and thank you so much for making Missoula Real Estate Today a part of things. We have with us today a couple of guests that have been on the show before. We have Dave Glaser, president of MoFi, and Julie Lapham, mortgage loan officer with Mann Mortgage of Missoula. I welcome both of you back, and Dave, I'll start with you. MoFi, Money with a Purpose, a lending firm here in Missoula that assists small businesses, potential home buyers, which we'll talk a lot about, and more. And we will learn more, but we'll get some background again on MoFi. That's what the banner slogan on your website says, Dave. Money with a purpose. What do you mean by that exactly?
That's right. So MoFi is a non-bank lender. We provide capital to people that are just outside the financial mainstream. Those people who can't quite get access to bank capital. So we make them a loan, whether it's for a down payment on their house or a loan to start their small business or expand their small business, and then we help them move to the financial mainstream.
In what other ways does it differ from, I guess the word is conventional, I'll use conventional, if I'm wrong, correct me, but in what other ways does it differ from, say, a conventional lending institution?
Well, we're non-depository. We don't take deposits, which means we're unregulated, which allows us to be more flexible with our deployment of capital.
And Julie Lapham with Mann Mortgage. Julie, how does Mann Mortgage interact with a business like Dave's, with MoFi?
MoFi is just a great tool that we use when I have clients that do not have down payment or they need some additional down payment or even help with closing costs. I utilize this program often to put my client in the best financial situation we can put them in.
So when you're working with a client and figuring out a mortgage or a home loan process, then a business like MoFi would come up in the conversation a fair amount, all the time, once in a while? Or
usually when I meet with a client, I give them all their options. It's not my job to tell them what program they should use, but I give them all their options, and MoFi is usually in that mix if they qualify.
Yeah. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Dave Glaser with MoFi, and Julie Lapham with Mann Mortgage. Dave, what is the business model? If somebody is trying to get a bank loan, but they fall short, Julie just touched on this a little bit, but how are you able to step in and help?
Well, in the mortgage space, we set aside money a number of years ago to be able to provide these down payment assistance for working Montanans with a credit score better than 640. And it turns out there are a lot of Montanans out there with stable income, good jobs. They're doing the best they can, but can't quite get to home ownership because they lack down payment. Or maybe they've saved up some of a down payment, but not enough, or they'd like to keep that money for a rainy day. So instead they use our money for their down payment.
I'm sure somebody didn't just draw the number out of a bucket. What is the significance of 640? Why is that a pretty good denominator? Julie?
That is because clients have to have a credit worthiness, and we want to make sure they are able to pay the money on the mortgage. We never want to put a client in a situation where they have difficulty making their payment, and typically clients with credit scores over 640 have shown the capability to do that.
All right. I'd like you to detail the types of loans that you can offer, Dave, and explain the terms a little bit. Let's start with term loans or lines of credit.
So in the mortgage space, we offer two distinct types of down payment assistance. The first is instant equity. So the borrower, the potential homeowner, goes to Julie and says, I'd really like to buy a home. And Julie says, hey, you actually qualify to use Home Now. And from day one, if you utilize this product, it's instant equity for you. You don't ever pay the money back. Or they could use our 0% deferred down payment assistance program, which we make a loan to that person at 0% for 30 years on their down payment, and they pay us back when they pay off their mortgage.
Flexible collateral and equity requirements. It sounds like an awful lot's involved there, but how do you simplify that for a prospective client?
So in the small business space, flexible equity and collateral means just that. We often take a lot less collateral or less equity, money down, when we make a small business loan. In the mortgage space, it's very clearly defined.
Yeah.
It's not flexible on the collateral side. It is flexible on the equity because we're ultimately providing that down payment assistance. Yeah,
we're on a real estate show, but I didn't want to totally ignore the business loan aspects of your business too, along with standalone and bank affiliated loans. Does that mean you're there to assist? Is that essentially what that means?
That's exactly right. The banks across the Northern Rockies, and specifically here in Missoula and Western Montana, call us all the time, whether it's to help provide down payment assistance to a potential home buyer or to provide financing to a small business. We might go in together with the bank and help the deal get done.
Our guests are Julie Lapham with Mann Mortgage and Dave Glaser with MoFi here on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. And since we are doing a real estate show, let's start to zero in now on home buyer services. And you brought it up a few minutes ago. What is the Home Now program? I mean, I think that in some aspects of it features zero down mortgage programming, but the umbrella, what is Home Now?
Home Now is a program that MoFi developed 3 years ago, basically today. It's almost exactly 3 years.
Oh, well, happy anniversary.
Since inception. Thank you.
You developed it.
Well, it's a program that existed in other parts of the country.
Uh-huh.
In fact, 36 states, previous to Montana becoming 37th, had a Home Now type program. And Montana lacked the Home Now program. And we said, well, that's kind of silly. We see a real big need in Montana for really flexible, accessible down payment assistance, relatively easy to use down payment assistance, to make home buying a reality for more Montanans. And so we went and got the product and brought it back to Montana.
Julie, you were probably familiar with some facet of that program. And so 3 years ago, you saw this introduced in Montana, Home Now. What was your reaction? What did you think?
I was excited. I actually closed the first one in the state December of 2016. And we had news crews at closing. It was really exciting. And this client would not have been able to get into this house without this program. What I love about this program is, more so than some other programs, is that Home Now, MoFi will give us, depending on which loan product we're using, they'll give us a percentage of the loan amount. So it could be 3%, 5%, and it's of the loan amount. Other programs might just give us $6,500. But I have a closing next week, and she opted for this program because she is getting 5% of her loan amount, which ended up being $14,000. So without this program, she could not have purchased the property.
So when you were working with this customer 3 years ago, December of 2016, and you told them there's a brand new program, you literally meant there was a brand new program.
Yep, and I have used this program consistently ever since. And the other thing I love about the program, it's very easy. There is on the conventional product, they have to take a short online class, but it's very user friendly and very easy for me as a loan officer, but more so for the client, which is what is important to me.
Easy to use, easy to understand,
and easy to use, and easy just to get the money.
Was there any reluctance there? I mean, you're introducing a customer, and they're trying to buy a home, which is such a huge expense investment in your life, and you're trying to explain a brand new program, never been used before. Was there any reluctance there? I mean, I don't know if I want to be the canary in a coal mine here on this, but I'm sure it was so new to you, but you must have been pretty well educated on it prior to that transaction.
Well, it comes back to the people that work at MoFi. I mean, without them and them having a fully understanding the product and how to use it, without them, I would not have stepped into it so easily and got it done as quickly as I did.
Excellent.
So you need those resources in every facet of my business. It's so important you understand the product fully and you can explain it to your clients so they can take advantage of it.
Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate and our guest, Dave Glaser, president of MoFi. Julie Lapham, a mortgage loan officer with Mann Mortgage in Missoula. And Dave, how are your programs funded?
We garner our funding from lots of different places. We borrow money from banks. We borrow money from the federal government. We borrow money from foundations. And we borrow money from individuals all across the country that invest in us because they see what we're doing, and that is making capital available to hardworking people in communities that can't get all of their financing from a bank or any of their financing from a bank. So we are providing capital to people to catalyze possibility, to create opportunity for more and more people in the Northern Rockies. And this year, we're going to provide about $83 million to 250 people, 250 businesses and potential homeowners and projects across Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, Eastern Oregon, and Eastern Washington.
Wow. Do you have to be a first-time home buyer to take advantage of what Home Now offers?
You do not.
Yeah.
About half of the people that utilize Home Now are first-time home buyers. The other half are not.
And how much assistance can a borrower get? They're working with Mann Mortgage, and then we need some supplemental I don't know if it's a percentage or a flat amount, but how much assistance can a borrower get if they proceed and start working with you?
Up to 5% of the loan amount.
Okay.
The largest down payment assistance we provided was over $16,000 to a person in Montana, and average is about $8,300.
Are there any income limits to qualify?
There are, and it's by census tract. Here in the Missoula area, it's about $80,000 by the borrower.
Uh-huh.
So it's family income, but in the Home Now program, we look at the borrower, the person signing the note.
This is probably more asking your opinion, but is that a fair amount? Do you like that amount where it's structured? Would you like to see that changed at all? Is Julie going to kick you in the shin depending on what your answer is?
No. It's not up to me.
Right.
It's up to the programs we're utilizing on a national level. Honestly, if I were in charge, I would like to see those numbers come down so that, I'm sorry, the other way, go up. Because
now I'm confused. Which numbers need to go up?
Increase. Because when you think about affordability, especially in Montana, even a family who's making $100,000 across the family or even by a borrower, it's still really hard to buy a home in Missoula or Kalispell or, nearly impossible in Bozeman, Billings anymore. And so the affordability in Montana doesn't match necessarily the national levels of income for down payment assistance. When you look at a place like Missoula, Montana or Bozeman, Montana, and you relate the median family income of those two communities relative to housing prices in San Francisco or Seattle and the median family incomes in those places, it's more expensive to buy a house here.
So that figure, are you working? You are working with a national guideline, a state of Montana guideline, a county. Where does that figure come from? Is that just
national guideline? It
is a national guideline. Yep. Wow, that to me seems like it could make it even more complicated. Trying to figure out as far as an even playing field.
Well, it varies per county. You'll find that Ravalli County, the income limits are a little lower than Missoula, but it just depends per county. And so it's important when someone's looking at this program that we're looking at their income accurately, and you're working with a loan officer that can do that.
What about a potential borrower's assets when using MoFi? Are those reviewed?
So that's what the lender does.
Right.
MoFi is working with partners approved across the state to do the underwriting for the mortgage, and then we ultimately rest on their good work to then provide the down payment assistance. That said, one thing we have as an attribute of Home Now is that we don't have what's called an asset test. If somebody has cash in their bank account and they still want to use our down payment assistance instead of their own cash, we see that as a great thing because they're going to have a rainy day fund after they buy the house to be able to make repairs or make an addition or whatever is needed to make the house perfect for them.
And there's a little piece on your website on the MoFi side, Dave, about MCC, Mortgage Credit Certificate. Where does that come into play? What is that all about? Julie going to take that one?
Yeah, an MCC is a mortgage credit certificate, as you said. It's a tax advantage for the borrower. I typically utilize them when I need to boost income to qualify. It's a way to give a client a little bit of boost to income. They will be deducting the interest on their tax returns that they pay on their mortgage, and so that's how I utilize it. But there's a lot of other tax benefits to having an MCC, but we use them often also.
Okay, so if you do the combo, you're working with Mann Mortgage, and you eventually work with MoFi. Additional fees, tax implications, things like that need to be explained to the potential customer?
So I'll answer, then I think Julie probably answers it. She interfaces with the customer much more directly than we do. Ultimately, when you're using Home Now, you are paying a slightly higher interest rate than you would if you weren't using down payment assistance at all. So there's no additional fee per se, but you are paying a slightly higher interest rate.
Yeah. That and what about tax implications too?
I'm not an accountant. I'm a CPA, and by law, I cannot give
nice
advice.
Disclaimer. Very good. Nice out.
So I have not heard of anybody having any tax implication. But again, if we do utilize an MCC, there is some good tax benefits there also.
All right. We're talking about the. I want to make sure the Home Now program. Make sure I got that right. Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and our guest Dave Glaser of MoFi, and Julie Lapham with Mann Mortgage. Dave, how about a success story or two? Any recent transactions that you found especially rewarding, homeowner wise, business wise, both? What comes to mind that made you feel mighty good about what you do?
Well, how about I give you one of each?
Yeah, that'd be great.
On the Home Now front, because it's so personal to me, my kid's kindergarten and third grade teacher, name's Molly, utilized Home Now to buy a home after she separated from her husband. And she didn't know I worked in finance, and I didn't know that she was seeking another home. And we only found out after the fact because Julie, I think, connected one and one together and said...
So she went to Julie first?
She went to Julie
okay.
without
right.
my encouragement.
Yeah.
Managed to use Home Now to buy herself a home. And after the fact, realized, wait a minute, this is Beanie and Bella's dad. And she sent me a thank you note that to this day, this was a couple of years ago now, that I still have on my desk. The only thank you note I have on my desk, actually. And what it brought home for me was how important this program is to so many Montanans, and how many more Montanans are out there that could benefit from utilizing it. As of today, 265 Montanans have purchased a home because of Home Now in 3 years. And it's escalating each year,
right,
the number of people using it.
And how long ago was this transaction? How new was MoFi when the teacher, Molly, you're talking about, was able to benefit?
Well, she utilized Home Now twice, not just once.
Twice.
So Julie could probably answer when.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So Molly, fabulous lady. We utilized the program for purchase for her, and after she had been in the home for a while, interest rates had dropped. Didn't have just quite enough equity to do the refinance to include her closing costs into the loan amount. And so we used MoFi again, which is so great because she was a homeowner. We can use it for a refinance, which is such a big deal. A lot of down payment assistance programs, you can't do that, let alone use them more than once. Lowered her mortgage payment by some $250 or something like that, which, for a single mom with two beautiful children is such a big deal. So, she is definitely, one of the top success stories that one of my clients.
Yeah.
So
a MoFi refi.
Yeah, a MoFi refi.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that should be on the website somewhere, Dave. You need to work on that. You mentioned a success story about a business transaction as well.
Yeah, I'll use two.
Sure.
One here locally, very recently, actually. We provided tax credit financing, new market tax credits financing to help the YWCA build its new headquarters and much expanded shelter over on 3rd Street. And I know Cindy Weiss, the executive director of the YWCA, and we can see just how powerful having this much larger facility is going to be for a lot of Missoulians. And so lots of gratification in helping projects like that become a reality.
I know a little bit about that one because one of my clients, I also sell advertising in addition to on-air duties, but one of my clients and really good friends are Bev and Holly from Marshy's Nursery, which is going to be, kind of right next door. And they've sort of kept me updated on, how the project is going to transpire. And it just sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it really will be. And without the tax credit financing, it never would have happened. So
Gosh, yeah.
Being able to be a part of something like that is awesome.
Yeah, and on to part 2.
And then very recently, yesterday, we closed financing for a business in Malta, Montana, called Malta Ready Mix. And we are providing working capital for this business. They have greatly expanded their operations and are working on some big projects in other states, Nebraska specifically in this case. Oh. And they couldn't get their bank financing entirely and got in touch with us because their lender put them in touch with us. And we got them the financing they needed so they can do this great big project and move forward. So
excellent. Great news. Love to hear that kind of stuff. Hey, a special thank you to some of Diane Beck's marketing partners that help bring you Missoula Real Estate today. Rob Fleming with Mann Mortgage, Miles Link of Opportunity Bank of Montana, and Carol Blodgett from MakeItMissoula.com. And our guest, Dave Glaser with MoFi, and Julie Lapham with Mann Mortgage. What happened to Fleming anyway? Did I scare him when I had him on the first time? Or?
No, I'm not quite sure. I'm just going to go with he had a closing. How's that?
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
No, you're doing a fine job. I was just kind of wondering what the heck's going on there. And since you're on the mic, Julie, in what ways have community growth and Missoula being a strong seller's market? Dave talked about this a little bit as far as supply and demand using Missoula, Bozeman, Kalispell buildings as some examples, but it being a strong seller's market affected the way your customers approach the home loan process? Do they feel like they need to be more ready, or are they just really, really unsure now, and so you need to help them gain confidence? Where is their frame of mind, if you can kind of give us a temperature?
Well, I would say one thing that I've been a lender for 20 years, and one thing that I've noticed over the last 3-4 years or so is that realtors will not readily show clients properties until they have met with a lender to get pre-approved. So I feel that over the last few years, borrowers are really trying to get their financials in order before they go look at that $300,000 house, which is great. The worst thing I have to do is tell someone when they go under contract for a property that they can't afford is that they cannot be qualified. So clients, I think, these days are a little more savvy about the financials, although I still get clients who think that buying a house is like buying a car, where it's like, well, just look at my credit report and hand me over $300,000. And so, and
Wow.
then again, that's why it's very important that you have a knowledgeable loan officer who could explain the process and what needs to be done, give tips on maybe if their credit score is a little lower, help them understand what they need to do to be ready to purchase a house. Because what our big concern is that these people can make the mortgage payment. We never want to see somebody have issues or stressed about making their mortgage payment. So,
I guess this could be a question for both of you, and you just brought them up, your relationship with realtors. How can you be an asset to them?
Well, I think it's when a borrower puts together their team, their realtor and their lender, it's very important we are all communicating. So we all are on the same page because it's our job is to make the process as seamless and painless and as smooth as possible for our clients. So I very much appreciate when I have a realtor who communicates well and doesn't miss a beat and lets me know if there's an issue. And we just really focus on that communication, especially with our borrowers.
And really, our job is to make sure our lending partners, like Julie, have all the tools that we can provide so that they can then in turn provide great customer service to the borrower and to the real estate agent involved in the transaction.
Yeah.
So we don't really interface with real estate agents all that often as it relates to home now.
Well, the wind's been a-blowing and some snow coming in sideways. It's beginning to look like that time of year. Why is winter a good time to buy a home? If you had to jump on the soapbox and promote, I think anymore, and we've had a couple of guests from Windermere on in the last month. I think anymore that's not the issue that it used to be because of the supply and demand things. I mean, if you see a house that you want in this market and it's at least kind of in your price ballpark, you better move on it. Doesn't matter if it's November, December, July, whatever. You better move. But is there anything that you could say about this time of year that might make it a better time, or why we should move on it besides supply and demand issues?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to something I said earlier because it's so shocking to me. It is more expensive, relatively speaking, to buy a home in Missoula, Montana than it is in Seattle against wages.
Right.
That is incredible to me. And so one of the reasons why we brought Home Now to Montana is that exact reason. In the winter, yeah, sometimes prices soften, not always. And so rather than saying, all right, I'm going to be really good and I'm going to save my down payment for the next 3 years,
Yeah.
Don't do that. Use programs that are out there so you get in the home now, and then ultimately you can still save money, but you're going to be in the home also building equity. So,
Geez, Julie, what the heck did you ever do? 2016 and back without Dave and MoFi.
I don't know. I don't know. I made it work, but yeah, I think winter is a great time. We usually see interest rates a little suppressed in the winter. I see that sellers seem to be a little more willing to negotiate. They don't want their houses sitting on the market during the winter, paying those heating bills. But that's typically what I see in the winter. I have clients that maybe they decide, I'm going to wait another year to save more down payment. I'm not saying that's not a good idea. I'm just saying, you know what, that $250,000 house is going to be $280,000, and interest rates might be higher also. So why, if you don't have the down payment, why not utilize a program like this and capture that lower purchase price? Because for 20 years, I don't think I have ever seen properties decline in value in our area. And I do loans in multiple states, but in all over Montana, and I don't think I've ever seen a property decline.
No. And you make an excellent point, and it's not because you're trying to hard sell and seal the deal. You're just being totally honest about it. We had Brent Wahlberg from Windermere Real Estate on last week, and Brent is kind of known as the numbers guy. And some of the statistics that he presented last week about how much housing prices have jumped just in the last year, to your point, and that's probably a trend.
Yeah, it's, I look at when I bought my first house some 23, 22 years ago and what I paid for it and what it's worth now, it's just staggering.
Yeah.
And, a lot of first-time home buyers jumping into the market and, their starter home is what, $220,000? I mean, it's and it's not in great condition. Mm-hmm. And so it's an interesting market that we have, that's for sure. But I do see similarities in other states and markets as well. It's not just typically Missoula.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guests have been Dave Glaser, president of MoFi, and Julie Lapham, a mortgage loan officer with Mann Mortgage Missoula. And before we wrap it up in the final minute here, we've got to have contact information and how we learn more. I don't care who goes first, but we'll start with MoFi, Dave.
Yeah, it's as easy as going to our website, MoFi, MoFi.org. And on our website, you can get a myriad amount of information related to all kinds of different financing, including Home Now.
All right. And if you want a really good loan officer, what do you do?
You can go to my website at julielapham.mannmortgage.com. And all my contact information is there. And my office is located at 704 West Sussex.
Pleasure to have you both back. Thank you so much for coming on Missoula Real Estate Today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. Contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email dianebeck@realtor.com or visit her website, homesinmissoula.com. That's homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.